There was a woman named Elena. She was an Italian architect known for her passionate and fervent nature. Cobblestone streets outside harmonized with the soft jazz music inside, creating the perfect setting for two kindred spirits to meet. Mark was an American writer with a calm, composed demeanor. His hair was a mixture of salt and pepper. He believed these were just difficult phases that would pass. He tried to comfort her, tried to understand. She angrily slammed her briefcase onto the floor. Mark, who was peacefully reading, looked up at the sound. "Can you stop looking at me like that?" She always felt a hollowness, a vague sense of unease. He tried to write, but the words no longer flowed smoothly. Mild to moderate headaches made it difficult for him to focus. He no longer felt anger, only emptiness and a touch of sorrow. He realized that the pain he was enduring didn't just come from Elena, but also from how he had accepted it and let it affect him. He had allowed her words to wound him so deeply that he had lost his own peace. He looked in the mirror and saw a man who looked somewhat haggard, a bit thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. Only their eyes met, holding so many unspoken things, so much regret and so much pain. This is not a happy ending in the conventional sense, but it is a story of awakening. Elena realized that what she sowed, she would reap. She had made others anxious and uneasy, and now she herself was experiencing anxiety and sleeplessness. Mark also realized that he had allowed himself to be caught in a negative spiral, and he needed to find his own way out. That chance encounter could be a new beginning, an opportunity for them to reflect on their journeys and find a way to heal their wounds, not necessarily with each other, but within themselves. They had learned a valuable lesson about personal responsibility, about how our actions and words can impact the lives of others and ultimately come back to affect our own lives. He occasionally had to use sleep aids to fall into fitful sleep. He knew it was a vicious cycle and he needed to find a way out. He felt he was going through a difficult period mentally. The alarm clock on his nightstand, like the one in Elena's old apartment, also seemed meaningless. It no longer woke him up to a day full of hope, but only to persistent fatigue. He recalled Elena's strained words, and he realized that those words had profoundly affected him. He had once been a calm, optimistic man, but now he was facing mental health issues that needed attention. He had allowed her words to wound him so deeply that he had lost his own peace. Colleagues began to keep their distance due to her difficult attitude and constant irritability. He was sitting on a park bench, holding a book, but his eyes were vacant, gazing into the distance. She noticed the significant change in him. Her heart constricted. She remembered their beautiful memories, the days they built dreams together. She remembered the words she had used to hurt him. An overwhelming sense of regret surged within Elena. She knew that she had indirectly contributed to Mark's state. She had sown seeds of tension and discomfort, and now she was witnessing the bitter fruits blossom in his life. Her family in Italy called, hearing her tired voice. They, too, felt anxious. Elena began to have trouble sleeping. She lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling. The ticking of the clock on the wall seemed to pierce the silent night. Images of Mark and the harsh words she had directed at him haunted her mind. She realized that she had inadvertently created an atmosphere of anxiety and unease for those around her, especially Mark. Because of this, she now had to face the consequences of her own actions. "Can you do something more useful than just reading?" Elena snapped. Mark felt a surge of disappointment. He gently set his book down. "Elena, you're making me so tired." "Can you stop making everyone feel worried and uneasy?" Mark's words were the last straw. Elena unexpectedly slammed the glass she was holding onto the table, causing it to tip over and shatter. "What did you say?" "You said I make you tired. You're the useless one," she yelled, her eyes red. But Elena's words gradually made him feel heavy-hearted. He found his words stuck in his throat. "I'm sorry. Perhaps we need some space," he said, then turned and walked away, leaving Elena alone in the room amidst the scattered pieces of glass. The image of a scowling, cold Elena gradually replaced the vibrant, energetic girl he once loved. Mark began to retreat, seeking solace in small bars in the Lower East Side, sipping on a drink or two to find some peace. His eyes began to sink, His face looked tired, and mild headaches started to appear, and he wore round spectacles that gave him an air of quiet wisdom. He had come to this land seeking inspiration for his next novel, and there she was, Elena, the fiery Italian architect. Her fiery red hair and deep blue eyes always seemed to hold a flame that burned brightly. And soon her architectural projects began to turn heads and win awards. Her designs were a testament to her passionate spirit, a fusion of modern functionality and classical beauty. Mark Tooth delved deep into stories that reflected his growth as a writer. His words danced on paper, creating vivid images and profound emotions. They were deeply in love, exploring every corner of the vast us together, from the sun-kissed beaches of California to the majestic mountains of Colorado. They shared dreams, aspirations, and the quiet moments that made their love story unique. She once told her close friend, "I want to build buildings that sing, structures that speak, and spaces that touch the soul." Elena came to the United States carrying this ardent passion within her. She dreamed of constructing modern architectural marvels, yet infusing them with the timeless aesthetics of classic Europe. She met a man named Mark in a small coffee shop in Greenwich Village, New York. The place was famous for its old-world charm. Their initial years together were like a painter's palette overflowing with vibrant colors. Elena dove headfirst into her work. Their small penthouse apartment in Brooklyn was always filled with laughter and the fragrant aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Then, as the years went by, like a mirror slowly fracturing, their relationship began to show invisible cracks. The increasing pressure of work and the growing expectations from partners, readers, and critics weighed heavily on their shoulders. Elena, with her lively and passionate nature, started to become irritable and quick to anger. She often brought the stress from construction sites and heated client meetings straight on. "You always just right. Do you understand my pressure? Have you ever thought about our future?" she would often say to Mark, her voice strained, her face somewhat scowling. Mark, with his calm and quiet nature, tried to endure. One rainy evening in New York, the tension between them reached a boiling point. Elena had just returned from a failed client meeting. Mark stood up, looking at Elena with a detached gaze. From that night on, their lives completely changed. Elena continued to immerse herself in work, but success no longer brought her complete joy. Meanwhile, Mark moved into a small apartment in Queens. One day, while walking in Central Park, Elena accidentally saw Mark. At that moment, Mark also saw Elena. They didn't say a word to each other.